dive into the wild world of LAX airport landing and see if I can spot the hidden dangers that most travelers overlook. As one of the busiest airports in the world, LAX is a major hub for both domestic and international flights, with thousands of passengers passing through its gates every day. But have you ever wondered what it's like for pilots to land a plane at LAX? Is it as smooth and routine as it seems, or are there hidden dangers lurking in the process? One common misconception is that landing in LAX is a piece of cake, with some people thinking that pilots can just set the autopilot and let the plane land itself. However, nothing could be further from the truth. Pilots have to be extremely vigilant and prepared for any situation that might arise during landing. Another misconception is that LAX is a particularly easy airport to land at, with some pilots even joking that it's like landing at a small regional airport. But the reality is that LAX has its own set of unique challenges that pilots need to navigate. For example, LAX is located near the Pacific Ocean, which means that pilots have to contend with fog and low visibility conditions, especially during the winter months. Additionally, the airport is surrounded by densely populated areas, which means that noise pollution and air traffic control restrictions can make landings more complicated. And let's not forget the sheer volume of air traffic that LAX handles every day, which can make for a very busy and stressful experience for pilots. LAX's landing procedures are also much more complex than you might think. For instance, pilots have to follow very specific approach paths and communication protocols with air traffic control, which can be challenging, especially for pilots who are new to the airport. And then there's the weather to consider. Strong winds, turbulence, and low visibility can all make landings more difficult. The air traffic control team at LAX plays a critical role in ensuring safe landings, working closely with pilots to guide them through the approach and landing process. Advanced radar systems and communication equipment to track planes and provide pilots with real-time updates on air traffic and weather conditions. But even with all this technology and expertise, things can still go wrong. I recall a particularly dramatic landing story that illustrates just how challenging things can get. It was a foggy day at LAX and the plane was approaching the runway on a standard instrument landing system approach. But just as the plane was about to touch down, the fog suddenly lifted, revealing a row of trucks and construction equipment on the runway. The pilots had to make an emergency decision to abort the landing and go around again, which they managed to do safely. This story highlights the skill and quick thinking required of pilots to navigate the challenges of landing at LAX. It's not just a matter of following procedure. Pilots need to be able to think on their feet and adapt to changing conditions. In fact, landings at LAX require a high degree of skill and attention to detail. Pilots need to be aware of a range of factors, including air traffic control instructions, weather conditions, and the performance characteristics of their aircraft. It's a complex process that requires a great deal of training and experience. So there you have it, a glimpse into the wild world of LAX airport landings. I hope this video has given you a better understanding of the complexities involved and the skill required of pilots to navigate these challenges. If you're interested in learning more about aviation safety, be sure to check out my other video on the most surprising causes of plane crashes. And if you're a pilot or have experience flying into LAX, share your stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you.